Hello and welcome back to II. In this video I'll build a new PC. It's going to be my new PC for the next decade or so. I'm not a very high demanding guy, so my build won't be a super ultra mega PC. But I do want the PC to have a bit of power for new games. The video isn't a real tutorial, but I'll tell you some personal experiences and sometimes give a few tips to be careful or to be smart. The first tip I want to give is RTFM. In other words, read all the manuals and keep them at hand during the build. Don't start straight away unless you do this stuff on a daily basis. Let's start with the unboxing of the large NZXT white computer case. It's the H6 Flow. It's very heavy because of the glass and it's quite deep. The whole power supply will be mounted on the other side behind the motherboard. The second box is filled with hardware that's meant for inside the computer case, of course. I'll start with the CPU cooler, a Noctua NHU12S. It has a noise level that's very low. I chose an AMD Ryzen 5 7600X AM5 socket. This CPU is not very expensive at the moment. A SATA cable and a Samsung 870 EVO SSD with 4 terabytes. An extra SATA cable. I think I'll use the white one for this build. A Kingston M.2 Renegade G5 SSD with 2 terabytes. 2 Kingston 16GB DDR5 memory sticks. They are too fast for the system, so I need to check the setup clock speeds in the UEFI. A power supply of 850 watts should be enough for this computer. The graphics card is an AMD Radeon RX 9060 XT with 16GB of VRAM. To put everything together, you need a motherboard. And I got an Asus ROG STRIX B650EF motherboard. It has an AM5 socket, of course, and it's PCIe 5.0 ready. This is my collection of hardware that I'm going to put together in this video. Let's start with the Ryzen 5 CPU. Open the manual that's inside. This tells you how to install the CPU in the AM5 socket of the motherboard. Unlock the socket frame. Align pin 1 indicators of CPU and socket. Close the frame. Flip the lever up to lock processor in the socket. Final locked lever position. I start with unboxing the motherboard. Take out the motherboard. In the bottom of the box are some spare parts, advertisements, a full user guide, and a quick setup guide. And a small Wi-Fi antenna with a small magnet inside. Keep it away from the build just in case. Remove the anti-static bag, but don't throw it away. It might come in handy some other day. If you look at the panel of the motherboard, there are a lot of different type of USB ports on it. Some nice fast USB 3.2, Gen 1 and Gen 2, USB 2.0 for the mouse and keyboard should do fine, and two USB-C 3.2 ports, on the left a display port and an HDMI port. I still use a 5.1 channel speaker set, and I can use these audio ports for that. In the middle, the connection for the Wi-Fi module and an Ethernet port. Let's focus on the CPU socket first. Take out the CPU. Unlock the socket frame. It's hard to see, but the pin 1 indicator is on the top right in this shot. Just lay the CPU in there, don't push it down. The white triangle indication pin 1 is on the top right. Close the socket frame with the plastic lid on top of it. Lock the CPU by flipping the lever back. The plastic lid pops off and you can then remove it. Here's the quick setup guide with the layout of the motherboard. I just did step 1. Step 2 is the power supply of the cooling device you're going to use. I'm going to do step 2 only partially. This is my choice. The Noctua NH-U12S fan-driven tower cooler. Inside is a system kit for the AMD as well as Intel processors. I need to use the AMD kit. What's in the kit? Do I have everything to put it together? Thermal paste for the CPU and the mounting kit for the AMD socket. Plus a screwdriver if you don't have one. The manual. Again, always check the manual even if you think you already know how to do this. Sometimes the manuals get updated or things are written down differently than you thought it would be. On the motherboard are two plastic holders that serve no purpose and need to be removed before you can mount the tower cooler. Check the manual again. This is the Intel build. That's not going to work. Here's the AMD build, in this case for the AM5 socket. First place 4 plastic cylinders over the holes. Mount the metal bars on top of them and mount them with the 4 screws. I have to place the bars in the offset position to line up the tower cooler correctly for the AM5 sockets. This is the AMD kit. And I don't need to be on the rear side of the motherboard, so I turn the motherboard back up. Drop the plastic cylinders over the holes. I do another check. In the offset position I have to place the bars in the holes with -7mm. I have to turn it around to get the same view as on the picture. Check. They should be mounted like this. The CPU arrow needs to point to the AMD CPU in the middle. The same goes for the left mount bar. Also check the labels East and West on the mount bars. That's as far as I go with the mounting of the tower cooler so far. Step 2 is now half complete, but I'm going to continue with step 3, the memory banks. Step 3. Install memory modules. I have 2 memory sticks. I need to place them in DIMM A2 and DIMM B2. Check the order of banks on the motherboard. The order is written above the memory banks on this motherboard. A2 is the second bank from above and B2 is the lowest bank. Open the package. Check that the opening in between the pins fits with the bank pins below. Pull down the plastic holders on the right. On the left side you can't. First push the stick in on the left side and the pins will line up. Then push it down. Second memory stick. Make sure that the plastic holder fully clicks back and closes. I see that I still need to push the first memory stick down a bit. Good. That was step 3. Step 4 are the M.2 SSDs. I'm going to start with just one NVMe of 2 terabytes. Step 4 refers me to use the user guide. That's this one. The M.2 installation. There are different versions of M.2 sticks and different variants of M.2 slots on the motherboard. I'm going to use the first one, and that's the one closest to the CPU. I have to remove the heatsink by removing the 2 screws. I have a 2280 NVMe. I have a single-sided M.2. I forgot to place the extra bundled rubber on top of the existing rubber. I thought the rubber on the motherboard was the extra rubber for the single-sided M.2, but it wasn't. Yikes! Here I install the NVMe without the extra piece of rubber. I advise you not to do this. You'll see why later. Before placing the heatsink back, you have to remove the piece of plastic covering the thermal pad. I used tweezers to pull off the piece of plastic. This will then stick to the NVMe, and that's why you should first put the extra piece of rubber on top of the standard rubber on the motherboard. Back to the future. I realized I didn't install the extra piece of rubber. I removed the heatsink later in the build, and the thermal pad now sticks to the NVMe instead of the heatsink. Take out the NVMe, open the plastic bag with the extra bundled rubber. Remove the plastic seal to uncover the sticky side. Stick it on top of the existing rubber. Now reinstall the NVMe with the thermal pad and then cover it up with the heatsink. I'm back on track. Unpack the power supply. I continue with the power supply because I need to know what cables I need for this build. Inside is a nice bag where you can save your spare cables and the power supply, of course. The power supply has ports for many optional PC power supplies. The ATX 24-pin connector is split into two connectors. It can supply power for 4 CPU/PCIe power cables, 4 SATA and Molex cables, and one 12-volt 2x6 cable. Inside the bag are all the cables. It's more than I need, so it's nice to know I can expand my power supply in the future. 4 screws to mount the power supply to the case. I have to find out what cables I need to use for this build. Most are obvious, but I don't want to connect more than I need. What else needs power except for the motherboard? The graphics card is one of them. Let's check it out. It's an AMD Radeon RX 9060 XT with 16 gig. Here at the top is a port that needs a power connector. That's one PCIe cable. The Radeon RX 9060 XT has 3 outputs, 1 display port and 2 HDMI ports. The obvious power cable is the ADX power cable for the motherboard. I'm also going to install a Samsung 870 EVO SSD with 4 TB. This device also needs power. This means I need one SATA power cable. I forgot to film one cable, and that's the CPU power cable at the top of the motherboard. Last device that needs power is the Noctua tower cooler. The power supply for this device probably needs to be plugged into a port on the motherboard. It's a small 4-pin connector. Here it is in the user guide, but where is it on the motherboard? It's a port called CPU_fan. Ah, there it is underneath the port called AIO_pump on the motherboard. It's close to the CPU in most cases, just like this one. There it is on the board. Both ports are exactly the same, so make sure you use the correct one. Time to connect all the cables I need to the power supply. ATX 24P. CPU. PCIe. SATA. I can now open the case and start mounting the hardware. In the back of the case is a rack that you can detach. Inside the box are all sorts of screws to mount the motherboard and other devices. There is a prepared bundle of cables that come from the front panel of the case. From left to right, headset jack, USB-C to USB 3.2 and the power button. You can use the rack to mount SSDs and connect the SATA cables to the bottom. I screw the SSD to the rack with the screws from the box that came with the case. Place the rack back into the case and tighten the screw. Next, I place the power supply in its position. fix it to the back with 4 screws from the power supply box. This is optional, but I decided to pre-position the ATX cable before mounting the motherboard into the case. I connected the SATA power cable and SATA data cable to the SSD inside the rack. I also moved the other end of the SATA data cable to the front of the case. I placed the case on its side so I can easily mount the motherboard in the case. The pin in the middle should fall into the hole of the motherboard. There, you hear it drop into place. Time to screw in at least 4 screws. I added 2 screws for a good firm fix. Now we need to find out what the direction of the airflow is. I need to know which way the 3 fans in the case are blowing. The fans are intake fans. The air is sucked in from the outside of the case. The air then moves from the front of the panel across the motherboard to the back. I have to find out how to mount the fan on the tower cooler. The fan needs to blow air through the tower cooler. Here's the tower cooler, and at the bottom of the fan are 2 arrows. The arrow pointing to the right is the direction of the airflow. Turn the fan cooler around and that's the right direction to mount the tower cooler. There are many ways to add thermal paste to the CPU. I've checked many videos and everybody has their own methods. Some people do one large drop in the middle of the CPU, other people smear the drop out over the whole CPU. I tried to check the same manual online, but I couldn't find this same manual. Maybe this is an updated version? I don't know. I just followed the manual of the Noctua tower cooler, put a big drop in the middle and a small drop in each corner of the CPU. You first need to remove the fan when you want to mount the cooler to the CPU. This was a nerve-wracking part for me. I first screwed the screw down too tightly, then I couldn't screw in the left screw. Now I tried to screw the left screw in with some force, but this puts a lot of pressure on the CPU. Don't push too hard on the CPU. I'll say it again. This is the right way. First loosen the screw. They don't need to be too tight. I can now reconnect the fan to the tower cooler. Connect the power connector to the motherboard. Now the tower cooler is stuck to the motherboard and I can put the case back into the upright position and continue building. Step 2 is now finished. I first connect the ATX power cable to the motherboard. That is step 7, but I still haven't done step 5 and 6. Step 5 is the installation of the graphics card, but that gives you less space to work in. I first do a bit of cable management for the CPU cable that needs to go to the top of the motherboard. The Velcro tape makes it easy to adjust cables later on. I plug in the CPU cable. I plug the SATA data cable into the SATA port 1 Always nice to remove some layers of plastic. The cables for the front of the case are shown on the case manual. I have to check the user guide of the motherboard to know where to connect each cable. The cable for the headset jack on the front goes here, HD audio. The cable for the lights and the power button on the front goes here, F_panel. It only has 4 wires. The 2 black cables from the panel now go to the front of the motherboard. These are the cables for the USB 3.2 ports on the front of the panel. Here goes the HD audio cable. The F_panel goes here. You have to stick the 4 wires on the top 4 pins on the left. The F_panel cable is for the power button and lights. The USB-C cable for the front panel. And the cable for the 2 standard USB 3.2 ports for the front panel. Do a little cable management for the ATX power cable. Where to connect the cable for the 3 intake fans on the case. I have 2 options, Precision F or Precision B. I'm going to use port CHA_fan1 because in the motherboard user guide the CPU opt fan shares controls with the CPU fan port. I want to be able to control the intake fans separately from the CPU tower cooler fan. So CHA_fan1 it is. It's a one-way connection. All surrounding cables are installed. I can now do step 5. Let's see where the graphics card goes. That way I know what slot I have to open. These 2 should be it. Don't forget to take out all the plastic first before placing it into the PCIe slot, because it's hard to get it out once it's in there. Remove some more plastics. I recommend you do this before you install it. I didn't do it just for the video effects. Do a good check for any leftover plastics, because they are hard to see sometimes. Then connect the PCIe cable to the graphics card port. Cable manage the PCIe cable through the Velcro tapes. This looks good enough for me. There's a lot of free space at the bottom for cables. Before I continue, I do one last check around all ports to see if all connectors are firmly connected. On both ends of the cable, of course. That should do it. Everything looks good. The computer is now ready to be connected and tested. Time to bring in the monitor. It's an MSi MPG 321 X QD-OLED monitor. Plug in the power cable. Plug in the HDMI cable. Remove the plastic covers. Add USB and USB keyboard. The moment of truth. Turn on the main power. Turn on the monitor. Turn on the power supply switch. Press the power button. The LEDs on the motherboard start lighting up and the fans are spinning. Great! Entering the UEFI takes a while. I get a message saying that a new CPU is installed. I press yes to reset the FTPM because I have no previous FTPM records. Wait a little longer. The amiBIOS asks to press F1. I'm inside the UEFI. I see the Kingston DRAM at 4800 MHz. Everything lights up, works and runs. Nice! CPU temperature is at 32 degrees Celsius. Two fan profiles are spinning, that's also correct. Time to close the case. Fine-tuning and enabling the Expo option in the UEFI will be done after I've installed an operating system. Put the grate on the back of the case and the glass plate on the front. First, remove the plastic. I'm going to install Noctua 42 on this system, and I'm stepping away from Windows. I'm not saying goodbye to Windows because I still have lots of computers with Windows on them. I don't think I'll ever stop using Windows, but it won't be my main operating system anymore. I hope you like this video and give comments if you think I've made some weird choices in the hardware, or if my build methods are different from yours. Thanks for watching. Bye!